and welcome to the United Stand. We're in the FA Cup final. The season's not over. Absolutely brilliant feeling, isn't it? And we'll be talking about the tactics, where it went wrong, what it means, where it went right. And obviously, look, you know what? We'll be touching on some of the fan cams that we've kept back because there are different opinions. And I think, let's not be deluded Arsenal fans, as I said last night, but let's be really, really happy. And if you're Mourinho in, like me, or you're a Mourinho doubter, if you felt Martial's going to get sold and you're unhappy, if you're Sanchez fanboy, whatever, really irrelevant. Don't want to see any of that today. The reality is, as I said when the team news came in yesterday, it was not about whatever political camp you're in. It was about Manchester United. And did you want to wake up this morning in the middle of April and your season to be over? We, Manchester United, will contest the last game in the English calendar, which means our season will end when the season ends, which is great, instead of the middle of April. So really, really happy with that. But there's a fan cam I just want to bring in here. Let's start off with Sanchez. Let's start off with Alexis Sanchez, Paul Pogba, and how Jose Mourinho got that right yesterday. Here we go.
Against West Brom, I mean, I saw the heat maps with Martial and Sanchez. Sanchez was just in the middle, you know, blocking the avenues for Pogba. And when Martial came, when you saw his heat map was on the left-hand side and gave us that natural width. Now today, I was thinking to myself, for goodness sake, it's going to be the same thing that happened in the league here. But he was exceptional. I mean, he did his job. I mean, Pogba worked well as well. I thought he was exceptional. If Alexis Sanchez wasn't the man in the match, I would have given it to Pogba. I thought he was exceptional. With Martial, I mean, it's difficult. I was talking to a fan inside this now. You've got three players vying for one position. Rashford, Martial, Sanchez. One's got to go. Because I don't think he's going to play Sanchez on the right. The manager's not going to go. So one of them's got to go. And I don't want none of them to leave because I think they're exceptional talents.
Spot on about that. We'll be talking a little bit about Martial in a moment. But coming back to that from that fan cam, which was spot on there. We spoke about this in the week. And let me just remind you. This was the West Brom Alexis Sanchez heat map. Look at it. Look at it. Look at it is. Now look, think about the left-hand side. He's not really touching that left-hand side. His red spot is sort of the number 10 positions, very central. But he's in Pogba's area. And he's over on the right, which you would expect because he does swap sides. But there's a massive area there, which is Pogba's area. And we spoke about this after the West Brom game. And we spoke about how this has been the problem since Sanchez came to Manchester United, getting in Pogba's way or Pogba getting in Sanchez's way, however you want to read it. Now, look at this. This was from yesterday. Look at the Sanchez heat map. He's not in that area. He's not in that area where he was against West Brom. He's not in Pogba's area. He's either out on the left, sometimes at left back as you can see, sometimes on the right, but predominantly he hogs that touchline. He doesn't come in to the area that Pogba had. And this is it. This is it. Look, I'm really happy and I think a lot of people are really happy because on Thursday, I said in the preview, you've got to drop Sanchez if you want to get the best out of Pogba, or he's got to totally change the way Sanchez plays and make him do what Rashford and Martial do, which is hog the touchline. What did he do? He made Sanchez hog the touchline. Sanchez didn't come into those areas that he's been doing for the last 3 months. He didn't get into Pogba's area. Pogba played well. Sanchez played well. I still think Sanchez is better on the right-hand side, but what he did brilliantly yesterday, the reason he put in that great performance is because he did what Martial and Rashford did. And it's very hard to make a case for Martial and Rashford when Sanchez starts doing what they did, which is hog that left touchline. He did that fantastically well yesterday. He had a fantastic game. And that is why we went from Sanchez and Pogba don't work to Sanchez and Pogba do work. It's nothing to do with flip-flop fans who were going, oh, I'm a Sanchez fanboy, I knew he'd come good. You're wrong. He didn't come good because of your blind faith for 3 months. He came good because our manager figured it out and started doing what lots of people have been saying for a long time. Make Sanchez hog the touchline and let Pogba come forward. And it worked so well yesterday. Really, really, really pleased from that Jose Mourinho. And it worked super, super, super well. But there you go. I mean, there it is. Look, heat map last week. He's in Pogba's area. Heat map yesterday. He's hogging the left touchline. And it really was that simple. And if you get that, Alexis Sanchez, it's very hard. It's very hard. Like that fan said there, it's very hard to make a case for Rashford or Martial, and one of them will probably have to go, which we'll talk about in the future. We've also got Sophie and Flex on tonight, and we'll be talking about something Jose Mourinho said about second place is more important than an FA Cup. Don't want to get in that now because I want to talk about the reaction to this game. I want Chelsea to win. Brevy Boys says, come on Southampton. I want Chelsea to win. I think it's I want United to be challenged. I think Southampton, you go into it favourites, we won't turn up. We tend to not turn up against teams that we should be. I want us to turn up against Chelsea and really go for it. Herrera, fantastic yesterday as well, as we know. Let's just grab another fan of camera.
Who were the standout players for you today? I mean, there was a few there.
I was impressed with Pogba, I'm not going to lie. I like the way Pogba was pinging it from side to side and stuff. And Herrera.
Herrera, I mean, he was almost the forgotten man this year.
Man,
and like last year he was good. But today he stepped up.
He stepped up last game as well. Last 2 games he played really well. You know what I mean? So I was happy with Herrera big time. And yeah.
What would you say to the Mourinho outers right now, the people that doubt Mourinho? You know, what would you say to them now?
At least he gets the job done. You know what I mean? We're guaranteed fighting with him. We're guaranteed some sort of silverware with Mourinho.
You're guaranteed some sort of silverware with Mourinho. 4 cup finals in 2 years for United. That includes Van Hal. We're going through a bad patch and we've gone to 4 cup finals and won them all. Well, hopefully we're going to win this one as well. And that's a bad patch. And it is a bad patch for United. There's no guilt in saying that we've been playing badly for a few years, but we've got to 4 finals. If that's Arsenal or Liverpool, they're talking about a golden era. So it just shows you the standards of Manchester United. But I liked that comment about Mourinho as well. Mourinho versus Pochettino has been mentioned a lot on this channel, a lot in the live comments. I don't want any of you to be changing your mind on Mourinho or Pochettino just because of last night. You make your own mind up. And I personally think, well, we'll talk about that in a minute, but when it comes to Mourinho or Pochettino, all I ever hear is he's going to be a great manager. At Pochettino's age, Mourinho had already won titles, Champions League, UEFA Cup with Porto. You know, if you're a winner, you're a winner. And Pochettino's not a winner. I like his style of football, but he's not a winner. In the last 4 weeks, in his own ground, in a strong position, he's lost to City, United and Allegri's Juventus. They're a big game bottler with a big game bottling manager. Good team, but they're never going to quite get there. I don't want Pochettino for that reason. I think if Mourinho goes, there's other options I would go for, but I would not go for Pochettino. You're going to get rid of a winner. All right, the football's, but he's infuriatingly stubborn, Jose, but what he does is deliver trophies, and I would not swap him for Pochettino, who he might deliver good football, but will frustrate us every single time when we get to the latter stages of tournaments because he doesn't. How did he respond to going 2-1 down? He had half an hour. If I was a Spurs fan, I would be so frustrated. They were 2-1 down at home, effectively. Their last opportunity to win a bit of silverware again in a season where they're not going to win anything. He didn't know how to respond. It was very, very comfortable for Manchester United. So, for me, Mourinho, right now, is better than Pochettino. And Mourinho's not going to go anywhere, is he? Mourinho is not going to go anywhere. And I think yesterday, he showed what it's all about. What I would say, for those Mourinho doubters, don't be a flip-flop fan. That's what I'm fed up of these flip-flop fans who go from one side to the other. But you have some consistency. The reality is, there's 2 things I'm a Mourinho in. I think, very, very happy with that result, and he's proved a lot of people wrong. Matthew McFadden says, I'll be honest, I jumped on the Pochettino hype train, but he's playing down of the FA Cup weeks before the fixture, only to bottle lead. It's defeatist. He's a weirdo manager, a bit like that. But let me just say this about Jose. If you do have your doubts, I've got to say this. There are a couple of things this season that I wouldn't say frustrate, but I lament about. I think, what if? Herrera, Pogba and Matic, quite clearly the best midfield 3 we've got. Last summer on the United stand, we talked about Matic and the signing of him, and we were like, well, maybe I'd prefer Fabinho, but actually we've got a good centre defensive midfielder now. Put Herrera on the right, Pogba on the left. You've got a brilliant midfield 3. That can be the foundation to win as a title. It was a foundation to beat Spurs yesterday. If you don't realise that game was won in the midfield, you must have been watching a different game. Yes, Sanchez was very good. Jones and Smalling played really well. Fullback's not so good. But we won the game because we won the midfield. Spurs have got a very good midfield. Pogba literally put Dembele on his arse. Herrera literally got all over Dele Alli and caused him a problem, apart from the goal. But was that his fault? I don't know. But United won it in the midfield. If you're a Mourinho doubter, I would put my hand up and say, why is it taking till April for us to play what is obviously our best midfield 3? And I had people saying last night, you're wrong, Herrera was rubbish at the start of the season and he blew it. No, Herrera didn't play his first Premier League game till September. Our first few games of the season, Mourinho went with Fellaini, Pogba and Matic. And, Mourinho's got that wrong. He has got that wrong. But we can't look in the past, we've got to look forward, and he's getting it right now. And you know what? I was fearful he was going to play Fellaini in that game, having played him against Bournemouth yesterday in the week. So he's getting that right now. Herrera, Pogba, Matic, really, really pleased with that. The second thing I would say is that the Alexis Sanchez thing, we've spoke about it at the start there. We now know why it worked so well, because Sanchez was told to hog the touchline like Martial and Rashford does, instead of cutting inside to Pogba's area. And it worked fantastically well. People have been going on about this for weeks though. Why is it taking Mourinho so long to figure that out? I think sometimes his stubbornness sort of gets in the way of just crack on and do what's obvious. And he did that yesterday. And that's down to him. He could have carried on stubbornly yesterday and said, actually, I'm not going to play Herrera, I'm going to play Fellaini in the midfield three, and I'm going to still tell Alexis Sanchez to cut inside because I want him to do that, and that would have nullified Pogba and Sanchez. He didn't. He changed it. He said, I want Pogba on that left-hand side, and I want him involved further up the pitch. Alexi, I really need you to just stick to your left-hand side or swap to the right, but I don't want you coming in centrally because you're going to get in Pogba's area. And that worked brilliantly, absolutely brilliantly. Our next fan's going to cover something a little bit controversial. It's sort of like Sanchez Martial. Listen to this.
Today and him in general.
If he could play like that every week, I'll be happy.
Even if it meant Martial would go.
Nah.
Because that's the talking point, isn't it?
Martial, you've got to keep Martial. Martial is a luxury player. Got to keep him. Like, I would get rid of Alexis Sanchez tomorrow, even though he scored that goal. Alright, a lot of people are going to say, oh, this geezer's a dickhead now because I said that, but I don't care.
Because Martial
is Martial. Look at the goal he scored past Liverpool on his first game for United. Come on, you can't do that to a player like that.
Well, a lot of people, including me, was a bit, oh, why can't Martial start? But he stepped up today big time, didn't he?
What, Rashford on from start? Rashford every time.
Fair enough, he scored today and he got us on our way, but you got Martial. He would have led up to our player of the season if we just kept him on that left. Put Sanchez on the right. Look the one part of danger he showed against City was on the right when he put in that deadly pass. Keep him on the right. We ain't got a natural right winger.
Interesting opinions there. Fans at the ground, very, very happy. Instantly after the game, very, very happy. And people still saying, Martial can't go. Put Sanchez on the right. Look, I think it's a debate for a future time. It was all about Manchester United winning yesterday. I don't have agendas when it comes to games like that. I really like Martial, but it wasn't about that yesterday. It wasn't about Mourinho. It wasn't about Sanchez. It wasn't about Pogba. It wasn't about Ashley Young being rubbish and not good enough. There's positives and negatives and everything, but everything drowns around the fact that we won a big game against a big opposition, a well-organised opposition. I think they have a stronger 11 than us. I think they've got a stronger bench than us when you look at it, but they didn't have a stronger team yesterday, and it worked really well. And let's not forget, we were pretty much playing out without a left-back in the first half. I mean, Ashley Young was shocking in that game. I love his effort levels, but defensively, not good enough, and we still were able to beat them. And Mourinho said in the second half, I just knew we were going to win it. I knew we were going to win it. And Herrera was brilliant. Pogba was brilliant. Matic didn't have a great game, but he still ran and patrolled that area very, very well. Smalling and Jones played very well, called the Chuckle Brothers by some. I think without Smalling this season, we would have been lost. And without Jones yesterday, we would have had to rely on Lindelof, because where is Bailly and Rojo? So not a full-strength team for United either. Lingard and Lukaku, not their best game, but they grafted and they give a lot of effort and they never stopped running. And Sanchez obviously was brilliant, absolutely brilliant on that left-hand side because of what Mourinho finally did. Made him stick on the left to get the best out of Pogba. And to be honest with you, I don't think Sanchez coming inside all the time really helps. You know, he's got a good cross on him, he's got good skills on him, and he works as a winger. Obviously, I'd love to see him on the right. All I'd say about Anthony Martial is I think he's gone. From what I've heard over the last 48 hours, even before yesterday, I think he's gone. I know Luke Shaw's gone. And that is something that we'll deal with in the summer. But for now, we've got something massive to look forward to in mid-May. An FA Cup final. And I hope it is Chelsea. I'm wearing blue today because I want Chelsea in the final. I don't want Southampton because it's an easier tie. I've never lived my life like that as a Manchester United fan. I embrace and remember the big games. And, FA Cup, when I was a kid, and some of you will be young and not realise this, and some older ones like me will remember, the FA Cup was the big game of the season. The FA Cup final, the big game of the season. I remember Coventry Spurs. Didn't support any of them, but it was a brilliant cup final, and it built up on TV all day. And we're going to do that on the United Stand this year. We did it 2 years ago. We're going to go live 4 hours before. We're going to build it up. We'll have quizzes. We'll have interviews with people, and we'll build it up because it's FA Cup final day. Manchester United. Our season will rest on that. Hope it's Chelsea. Big opposition going into a big game. Thinking you're going to win, but knowing it's going to be a big game. I can't wait. And I do want Chelsea. I really, really do. I want us to be tested. I think since that last international break in Sevilla, a lot of United fans have been, I want us tested. And we spoke about on the international break. It's all forget West Brom, Bournemouth. I mean, we messed up a bit against West Brom. We did, but we were all about Man City and Spurs. They're the two games where Mourinho is going to feel the most pressure after that Sevilla debacle. Beats Man City, beats Spurs. Can't do any more than that. And actually, the big thing I wanted to say, where's this park the bus? Where's the moaning about the style of play? I mean, I still think Spurs probably played better football than us, but they've been playing that way for a year, 2 years, 3 years. Manchester United, Mourinho's pretty much changed the way he's playing in 3 weeks. It's going to get time. It's going to take time. But there was no sideways passing yesterday. There was no conservative approach. There was no park the bus. And whether you're Mourinho out, doubt or in, that is something we've seen consistently since the international break. He's changed. He's changed. He's changed what he's done with Sanchez yesterday. He's changed his midfield three to bring Herrera in. He's changed his approach and stopped being conservative and gone on the front foot. He's basically changed since the international break. And I'm not going to say it's a massive stride and we're going to win the league, but it's definitely progress. And Mourinho has changed. I would argue that with anybody. He has changed. He's changed that Pogba-Sanchez thing. He's brought Herrera into the fold finally. And we're going on the front foot. And if you look at Pogba and Herrera yesterday, there's tenacity into the tackle. There's getting the ball forward. People aren't taking too many touches. Sanchez gets on the ball. He's not looking around and taking 3 or 4 touches. He's pinging it off. Pogba's doing the same. And, you know, we got a bit of luck. You know, Lukaku, it's so funny. Lukaku, it's just, when we signed him, we were like, he's got a terrible first touch. And he's pretty much proved that this season, although it's improving. But how ironic that a bad first touch from Lukaku provides the assist to the biggest goal we've scored this season for Herrera. I mean, that first touch is terrible, but it's perfect because Herrera, right in his stride, boom. And maybe the keeper should do better. But I think I don't think this Mourinho United fan sort of divide is over. I don't think it's over. But for people like myself who are Mourinho in, I'm glad. If we were in this now and he hadn't changed and we played City and lost and we played Spurs and lost and he was still playing this same conservative slow football, then I would be sat here now thinking, you know, this is the long goodbye. This is the end for Mourinho. I still don't think he would have been sacked in the summer, but next year it would have gone from bad to worse. What we're seeing now is, yeah, the last 2 years have been a bit mixed and the style of football's not been good. But over the last 3 weeks, we've played City and Spurs and we've played in the right way. And I still think City and Spurs, you know, consistently over that 90 minutes probably played better football. But we're changing the way we're playing. You can't expect a team in 3 weeks to suddenly just be clicking. This is something that we build momentum between now and the end of the season. We take it over the summer and then we hit next season. And that's why I want to play Chelsea in the cup final, because I want this new way of playing to be a momentum thing. I want us to play the best teams. I think we struggle with the Southamptons and the Huddersfields. I don't want that. I want Chelsea in the final. I want us to play the same midfield three. You know, I think Lingard, Lukaku and Sanchez are Mourinho's front three. That they are clearly his front three. He's been playing them since the international break. Whether you agree with that or not, at least he's playing with some consistency. If that's Jose's front three, he'll live and die by that front three. You know, I respect that. I don't agree with that front three, but I respect the fact that he's finally doing that. And I think it's really important that he does that. So, massively excited by what United have achieved yesterday. I don't think it's about Martial or Mourinho or Pogba or Sanchez or Lingard or any other agenda or political party that you back within the Manchester United wider organisation. I just think if you support Manchester United, we had a great result last night and I'm really, really pleased about it. And as I said, for those who joined a little bit late, you've seen the fan cams, but it really was this simple. This is how Mourinho beat Spurs. That's the heat map for Sanchez against West Brom. And that's the heat map of Sanchez for the last 3 months, really. All over the place, but specifically getting into their midfield areas that Pogba wants to get into. As we saw yesterday, totally different. He hogs the left-hand side, and he's man of the match, arguably man of the match. And Pogba plays well as well. It's not rocket science. Mourinho finally said to Sanchez, you've got to do what Rashford and Martial do when they play. Hog that left-hand side. That's your area. That's where you make the difference. Let Pogba come forward alongside of you, and it worked brilliantly. So I applaud Mourinho for that, because Mourinho gets a lot of stick for being stubborn, and this is something that's been mentioned in our fan community, in the press, by ex-players, that Sanchez is coming into Pogba's area and Pogba's clashing with Sanchez, and Mourinho sorted it. He sorted it yesterday. He swallowed whatever tactical pride or whatever you want to call it, and he sorted it out, and we saw a fantastic performance from Sanchez, a great performance from Pogba and Herrera. Pogba's performance was more important to me, not because he did a load of tricks and scored a goal, he got a great assist. He had a battle yesterday. Pogba's performance yesterday wasn't about his footballing ability, it was about his athleticism and the battle he had with Dembele. They sort of just went toe-to-toe and Pogba won. And Dembele was the one who had to get benched. So Pogba was absolutely brilliant yesterday. Really, really pleased it. But thanks, George. The heat map works really well because it just I can say Sanchez didn't come to Pogba's area, and you'll just say, "Oh, you're making that up." No. 3 months for the last 3 months, Sanchez has been wandering into Pogba's area. Yesterday he didn't, and you know what I would say as well. I think some of the stuff that's been thrown at Sanchez has got a bit personal. Even when I said he should have been dropped, I wasn't saying Sanchez was a bad player. I would have played Sanchez on the right midfield from day one. I thought that's where he was going to play. I would have dropped him for this game because all we'd seen for 3 months was him clashing with Pogba. Mourinho just stopped it. So it was like turning a new page, and it worked fantastically well. Josie22 says, Mourinho is evolving. That's why my doubts are calming. United managers deserve every criticism from fans. We love our club. That's why we criticise. Spot on. Absolutely spot on, Josie. And yeah, criticism is absolutely fine. It's constructive criticism, isn't it? And don't fall into the trap of these flip-flop fans who start hunting through and saying, oh, you said this on Wednesday, everything like that. If you had your concerns about Sanchez Mourinho on Friday, the evidence was there to have those concerns. We've been poor for 3 months. He, the manager, sorted it out last night, and that should be applauded. When it's good and it goes the way that your criticisms were talking about before, and he sorts that out, you've got to applaud the manager. If he responds to what the fans have been saying needs to happen and it works, you've got to applaud the manager. If he keeps making the same mistakes, then you don't. Anyway, smash that like button. We've got an FA Cup final. We've got Chelsea, Southampton. We're going to do a watch-along on That's Football, actually, if you follow our other channel. We've got That's Football watch-along for Chelsea versus Southampton. I'm wearing the blue. I want Chelsea in the final. I go for the bigger game. So smash that like button. Subscribe if you're new. We're in FA Cup final. Let's keep the positivity up. Whack that like button, and tonight at 8 o'clock we've got Sophie and Flex on, and we'll be talking a little bit about this Mourinho thing where he said I prefer second over the FA Cup. A few big topics to discuss. We'll bring Martial into that as well, and also that weird text that Woodward sent to Mourinho yesterday morning. Very, very weird. So we'll be talking about that with Sophie and Flexi, and all of you lot a little bit later. Also, just finally as well, the links in the video description for Stats24. I mentioned this yesterday. It's a website and an app, and they got it spot on. And basically what it is it's a website and app whereby if you are somebody who fancies a bet, remember you've got to be over 18 and do gamble responsibly. They base it on percentages, probability, and they throw forward bets that you should go for based on these probabilities. So if you looked at what have we got? Arsenal today, 12:30 kickoff. Arsenal versus West Ham United. There's a 74% chance that there'll be over 2.5 goals in that game. And obviously you've got Crystal Palace versus Leicester, which is next week. 65% chance of over 2.5 games. So all the bets, and they'll give you the best odds you can get on the right-hand side as well with different betting companies. But effectively, if you are somebody who has a bet on the football, download this app. Seriously get on it. They had it yesterday as well. They said United, Spurs, both teams to score double your money. Percentage of 80%, and it happened after 25 minutes. So if you are somebody who has a little bit of a bet, this is a fantastic website, stats24.com. You can get it on Apple and Android as well, and it just throws up these bets. There's all sorts as well. If you're into lots of betting, they've got the Thai league and everything like that, like 88% chance of it that Spanish game having under 2.5 goals in full time, and they'll give you the percentage on what the probability is based on all the stats and previous results. So link in the video description for that. I will see you at 8 o'clock tonight. We're in the FA Cup final, and I hope you've enjoyed the tactics and the fan cams that we fed in, because that's exactly how we won this game. Mourinho sorted that Pogba and Sanchez problem out, and he's finally playing that midfield three that we want to see. Thanks for watching. Speak to you all soon.